hell are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, those first two games were just a constant back and forth. Game 2, GXR finally managing to make use of that great early game, transition that, and close it out and find that win, forcing us to Game 3. So Motivate.Trust, they went off to a slow start again in Game 2, but they didn't get space to recover this time around. We'll have to see what they pull out. We're still seeing the same bans here from GXR. They take care of the Raid King, they take care of the Magnus as well. GXR going with different openings though. They go Sand King Lina. So they've got a very stable combination to play with if they do run that Sand King Lina on the offlane as a duo. Still the potential for a Lina mid or a Sand King mid perhaps, although Sand King mid is, you know,
Don't say that, John.
It's not fantastic.
Neon's playing after this, John. Don't bring up the mid Sand King. I don't want to see the mid Sand. I mean, I think the last time I watched mid Sand King from Yopaj, I believe he did win out the game. But don't bring it up, just in case they're watching. I don't want the mid Sand King to pop up. So GXR vs Motivate.Trust game number 3. Obviously the draft has begun. The Lina Sand King, quite a nice opening here for GXR. The double stun duo in the offlane, it looks like. So if you do run the POS 4 Lina plus the POS 3 Sand King, it can be quite a devastating combination. Of course, with the Burrow Strike and the LSA. And quite an old school combination as well, as it feels like we used to run this a lot, especially back in Dota 1. Used to always just have a stun plus a support Lina, and it used to work out very, very well. Motivate.Trust, on the other hand, they do go back for the Ancient Apparition. Leonak has been seemingly enjoying that quite a bit, yet to show us their second pick so far. But we'll see what they do go for. In fact, here we go. They'll go for the Dragon Knight.
Yeah, it's not the most common here we see for Fearless, but it's still very potent, stable on mid, doesn't need too much initial farm. It's very hard to zone out as well, no matter what the matchup is. So I think this is more to cover their bases in case it ends up being a Sand King mid or a Lina mid. I mean, the Sand King mid could probably be worse for the DK in that case, just because Plastic really whittles away on a DK. But in either case, the DK can just kind of play with Breed Fire, keep farming up, maybe stack up his jungle in between waves, and just go from there. So it's a stable way of getting that done. You've got good combinations with the AA. Cold Feet plus Dragon Tail is obnoxious. You will be stuck. Like, if you time it right, you're always going to get that follow-up stun from the Cold Feet, and you can kind of just try and find an easy pick off that way. So there's still some potential there for Motivate.Trust. It's not as flex. Maybe it ends up being a Masaro's offlane DK. That's the only way you can really flex that out, but that doesn't sound too amazing compared to the mid, where your timings are better, where your blink's going to be a bit faster. So I think that might just be what MTG kind of lock in this first phase for themselves.
Oh, fair enough. See what they do go for after this, as we do have one more ban to come out from GXR before we do get going. Surprised to note as well, Motivate, they seem to have banned out their own Elder Titan, and we haven't seen Leonak playing that whatsoever as of late. Which is very surprising for me, because we do tend to see it quite a bit. I'm not 100% sure why Motivate moved away from the Leonak Elder Titan, but it was one of his specials, so I am quite shocked to see it, I must admit.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think they've just been drafting a bit differently, or perhaps it's specifically against GXR right now, where they've been opting for really the AA, been a mainstay for Leonak. He has done a lot of work. But that Elder Titan was really effective when it came out. I think in this case, when you've got the DK and you're probably still, you don't have the option for Lion on your 4 or 5, you don't really get the max value from the magic resist being taken off. You don't really manage to build up there. So that could be just one reason. GXR, though, with a Snapfire pickup, are still keeping their draft relatively open. Like, the Snapfire could be your 4, could be your 5. Your Lina still flex, your Sand King still flex. So it's a very open draft, but it's got a lot of team fight and a lot of stuns. There's a stun on each hero, and stuns win games, right? And Motivate.Trust, they've got some stuns as well. Not reliable. Ancient Apparition, it's basically a melee stun on the DK until he pops Dragon Form. Yep. And the Impale from the Nyx is probably your best stun. It's very hard to land, especially compared to Earth Spike. So you just kind of have to compensate for that. But with a Spike Carapace as well, you have good ways of dealing with Lina, dealing with Sand King, and dealing with Snapfire. If Kisses fly through, Spike Carapace, pop it from a mile away. Frostbite Carapace to stop the Lina, Dragon Slave, LSA combination, maybe even bounce back a Laguna if you're fast. And it doesn't really stop the Sand King too much, but at least you buy yourself some time from the Burrow Strike initiation to maybe not have to deal with a Sandstorm at the very least.
Yeah. Seeing where this draft takes us, GXR. I must admit, John, I've been having a very cheeky look at the Twitch chat as we do go on through the draft, and I continue to laugh at some of the comments that are being made. A new name for you, John, apparently is Husbando, or Husbando, so there you go.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. This is very good art style after all, looks good.
There goes the puck as well for GXR. Don't go too far, John. They're not the biggest fan of the look yet. Motivate.Trust, they'll go for the Darkseer pickup, which is quite interesting. You don't get to see the Darkseer picked up very often from this side, but there you have it. It does pop out. Now, I must admit, when I see the Darkseer, I always think to myself, team fight a little bit lacking with the hero. You have Vacuum Wall, but yeah, it's not the greatest team fight in the world. You haven't really got the most amazing follow-up to it either, unless you can land a massive Impale, plus maybe an Ice Blast on top. Then we're talking. But before that, it's not going to feel too amazing. On the brighter side of things, of course, this hero does allow you to keep all the lanes pushed out, which is a very nice kind of bonus to it. And if you do go into the Aghanim Scepter as well, you do tend to tank up everyone on your team with those Iron Shells. Then again, GXR, I mean, they still have to pick up their safe lane carry as well. I don't think they're going to be too stressed about this Darkseer.
No, it's got some potency. Ice Blast on top of the Vac Wall and that Impale are nice, but it's not very reliable. I don't know what follow-up you'd get here for Motivate.Trust. Galaxy Racer has banned out Jackie's Jug. He's going to have to look elsewhere. For GXR's part, the puck is just really good. Now, it is puck into Nyx, but we've seen that not be an issue for pucks as the game goes on, and where it's not too bad for the puck to kind of deal with. So I don't think they're too worried about the Nyx stopping the puck's momentum. What they really need now is just a very stable core and a safe lane to come out. So it's looking like we've got the Lina plus Sand King lane on the off lane. We've got the Snapfire potentially playing 5. Motivate.Trust, go to Spectre.
Wow.
They dip into the Jackie Spectre. We've seen him play that a ton, of course, over the past year and a half or so now. But the Spectre itself is not in a great spot. It's just not an amazing hero for basically every region. It's not seen a lot of play for good reason. The scaling is still all right, but it's really the initial itemization that hurts it. Like, we always see Blade Mail. It never feels like it flash farms fast enough. And that could hurt Jackie. Now, Motivate.Trust are used to playing a lot slower early game anyway to buy Jackie space out. But I just don't know if Spectre is still worth the payoff. It just doesn't feel like late game prowess is that scary.
Well, GXR, 5 seconds left for their last pickup. They still need that safe lane. They're going to go into the Sven. A very interesting pick to make here for GXR. Not sure how well that's going to be able to deal into the Darkseer. Let's see how it pans out. I mean, the hero has been making a reappearance as of late into the back into the carry meta. Not so much with the Aghanim Scepter build-up. You just go back into that old-school Sven build-up that we used to see. Just all about the right clicks. Mind you, you are going into a Spectre, so late game it could be a little bit tough. But I suppose Sven is one of those heroes that can also do the whole Silver Edge build-up if you really feel like you need it. And overall, John, both drafts are done. I'd love to hear your opinion, sir, as to who had the better draft going into this game number 3.
I'd have to lean towards Galaxy Racer this time. I think they definitely have probably the best draft we've seen from them in a long while. For Joe Cam, Mizu and the Sand King, so it's that dual lane on hand. Their team fight is really scary. Epicenter, Burrow Strike, LSA, Kisses flying out, Dream Coil coming through, and then in your dream on top of that cleaving through. It is potent once you're clumped up. I don't think Motivate.Trust wants to take any of these early team fights at all. They're going to have to stall out for Jackie as much as possible, get the Spectre up and running ASAP. And that's just a lot harder in this game. I don't think the DK and Darkseer are enough to create that space. There's more pressure on Q and Leonak to run this Nyx AA combination to get that pseudo global ganking potential going for themselves. It would be a lot nicer if they had something more mobile for Fearless on mid. I think DK following up on a Vendetta Nyx, it's not going to be that quick, and it's be really tricky for them to build up or at least buy that space out for a spec. Whereas for GXR, it's easy to execute. They just need to hit level 6 on all your heroes. They can clump us 5, just take towers, take these team fights, and hit that same 25-minute timing we've seen from them consistently throughout the series.
Fair enough, John. We'll go into it. Game number 3, this will be the decider as to who does make it through to the round 2 of the upper bracket and who does have to go down to round 2 of the lower bracket. GXR, Motivate.Trust, obviously both of them would love to try and make their way over to round 2 of the uppers. Of course, Motivate.Trust are the back-to-back champions of Pro Series. They did win number 4 and 5. So obviously looking to claim their 3rd in a row if they can. GXR are going to try and get in their way if they can as well. And John, I must admit, I had a cheeky look at the LOOT.BET odds right before we went into the game, and Motivate were still favored to win out the match as a whole. Do you agree with that? It sounded like you were favoring the GXR draft in Game 3. Do you think the odds are incorrect?
I'd have to disagree. I think GXR looked like they recovered from game 1. And we saw them really hold their own in Game 2. Their draft is a lot cleaner. It's easier for them to hit these power spikes. Their win condition on In Your Dreams a lot nicer. So I think Motivate.Trust has their work cut out for them. Fearless is going to have to be on point with what he achieves with the DK, specifically shoving in mid. Right? That's the one thing with DK. You hit 6, you shove in the mid tower, you try to take it out fast. That's when you open up the map.
One side, they can try and go after the bounty. Q, a nice impel out. He does not get the bounty though. It does go the way of Paulison, and now the first blood out might just happen. Q is going to try and back, but they get the damage out in time. Now In Your Dream's going to take some tier 1 tower damage, but he is going to survive through it. By the way, John, I gotta say, I love Fearless's set. I do like the fact that he is just completely on fire right now.
Very fitting for our Davion, of course. Really unfortunate. I mean, at least with a Dragon Tail, he does manage to get aggressive, but that means his level 1 presence is not going to be great. He doesn't have to breathe fire to harass out Alacrity, so it's a lot easier for the puck to just get at least a wave advantage here. It's going to be a bit slower for start for Fearless. Still, you know, not too bad for the DK puck matchup. You can kind of hold your own, hit your level 3 spike, play with your breed fire, find farm that way. So it's going to be pretty static there. Up top, though, there should be a bit more going on. Jackie's on that Spectre with Leonak on that AA. Jocam's on that Lina, though, along with Mizu. And it's that Sand King Lina combination. Once you get the Burrow Strike, get the LSA follow-up, you will have to watch your spacing really well, because once you get chain stun, it's going to be really easy to find that kill, especially by level 3. And that's a big spike for the Lina and the Sand King. You have to kind of take care of yourself if you're Jackie, or there's not much Leonak can do to relieve that pressure.
No, it's certainly not. Leonak just going to have to go for the small camp pull over and over again, it seems, to try and dissuade them for going for that double stun onto Jackie. Just allow that Spectre to try and farm up underneath that tier 1 tower if you can. Of course, down to the bot lane, which is the one we haven't talked about yet, you've got Masteros and Q there against Paulison and In Your Dream. Now In Your Dream, once again, the leader of the CS board, and he's pretty much done this 3 games in a row. So they are going to make the jump onto Q. They do have another Scatter Blast, but Q's going to turn around with the Impel and with the Iron Shell. They are going to be able to delete Paulison, and he'll give him the Talentless, which, in my opinion, has to be the best voice line in the game. It's very, very insulting, but Q, he had a rough game too. He needs to come back in for Game 3 and really give it to GXR.
Again, you can see the back and forth in this lane, right? Like, you've got the chain stun potential as well from GXR with a Sven and Snap, the Cookie plus Stormhammer flying through can be a bit scary. It's hard for Motivate.Trust to dance around that. They're dual melee up against that. It's just not very easy to space yourself out properly. Your control's all relying on Q, but once Master spams out the Iron Shells, it can be scary for In Your Dream or for Paulson to actually run in. So you can find opportunities on both sides. Just really have to watch your spacing, and you have to watch how far you leave In Your Dream. But, oof.
I love that line from Boom Esports as well, I must admit. Just being able to ask that question when somebody misses their spell, it always feels so satisfying. It's Paulison, he will back off. The small camp going to be taken over by Massaros. Just fine, but in your dream, more than happy to just keep farming underneath that tier 1 tower while all this is happening. Still maintaining a nice CS board kind of lead, just behind Mizu on the Sand King, who's having a very good time himself. And I do like the fact that Mizu opted to go for that level 1 Encaustic Finale, because it is going to pay off. Once you get the Burrow Strike into the Light Strike array, if there's any creeps around Jackie and you can pop the Caustic, it is really going to hurt the Spectre.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Jackie has a hard lane ahead, and in fact, every lane is shaping up pretty hard here for Motivate.Trust, except maybe the bot lane. Fearless lost his courier on mid. He doesn't get his items up. Really good snipe coming out from Paulson. They're just so active on GXR's end. What's important for Motivate.Trust right now is Fearless needs to hit level 6. Right? Hit 6, hit the Dragon form, hopefully be by the opposing tier 1 tower when you can, and just shove in, force a response, free up your side lanes, buy that space for the Spectre sooner rather than later, because even if you get a quick blade mail timing on that spec, we've seen it tons of times before in the recent patches, it still takes a long time for Spectre to actually be relevant in these fights.
Certainly does. Very quiet period of the game now as both teams just going to try and secure their farm, get the XP up. Haven't asked you yet, by the way, John. In fact, hold that thought, because in your dream now is going to be in danger. Going to pop the war cry and try to run. Nice vacuum back, though, from Massaros. He'd run the other way to try and cut off in your dream and wasn't able to, but now with that level 2 Iron Shell up, especially when you've got it on both heroes, you can really start to abuse in your dream. And that high armor on the Sven obviously doesn't really matter up against the Iron Shell. See if they can keep the abuse up there onto In Your Dream, or whether you can try to avoid it in the future. But it looks like Massaros does want to continue being very aggressive here along with Q.
You do have to be a bit cautious. It's at this point where In Your Dream could just go to the jungle with his Mask of Madness out.
That's a lot of damage. Q is going to cop it. Immediate tips out, and I've got to tell you, John, when you give the talentless line, you're going to cop these tips. Q has started a war, and we'll see who ends up winning as Fearless goes down mid lane now. Alacrity there on the puck does set up with Mizu. Another very nice kill across the map, and GXR, they're off to another great start.
Feels like this happens in every game for GXR up against Motivate.Trust. We saw it in Game 1, we saw it in Game 2, we're seeing it in Game 3, where they're winning out these early few minutes. Trying to chase In Your Dream, but a level 6 Sven with 1000 HP, with the Warcry move speed, he's not easy to lock in. And as mentioned, there's a lot of stacks that In Your Dream can focus on instead. But they've got to find a way to contest these stacks. You need to clear them out, prevent the Sven from just constantly building up, because In Your Dream's got a pretty nice lead very early on. If you allow him to escalate, he has much earlier power spikes compared to that spec.
Where are we haunting? Bot lane, In Your Dream going to be targeted, but a massive stun out onto 3, but it may not matter though. Alacrity is here. He could really clean up. He does get Massaros. He will get Q. And now Jackie is a bit of a sitting duck as the Light Strike array does land. They should have the damage output with the Scatter Blast and Alacrity. They'll get a triple kill going. Fearless, he did run down through the river, but he is way too late to the party. He doesn't have Dragon Form up anyway, and look at all the stacks being taken. Those were Massaros' stacks being taken away by Alacrity. That is some very, very bad news for Motivate.Trust.
Not only do they lose those stacks in the bot jungle, Mizu was taking care of the top jungle stacks as well. They just have no recovery in Leonak.
Well, they just found a huge creep. Leonak does go down In Your Dream with the God Strength. We'll take it. GXR already 7-2, but a 2k net worth lead more importantly. And while Jackie has farmed a lot better than last game around in the laning stage, it is still looking very rough. As bot lane, it looks like they do spot out Jocam. They'll get the Lina kill. Now Fearless with the Dragon Form is going to get to work on that bottom tier 1 tower. But the top tier 1 is also going to be pushed down by In Your Dream, so it should be a fairly even trade between the two.
Yeah, it's not going to equate to too much additional map control coming out here for Motivate.Trust. I think the side of GXR are actually happy with it, because it gives them easier access to the top jungle. They've got better control in that area. They've already got the wards to watch the bot jungle as well. Like, the vision game from GXR just counteracts everything that Motivate.Trust wants to do. They want to invade the bot jungle? That's fine. We know where you are. They still take out the top jungle. There are no good D wards yet from Motivate.Trust. They tried to drop a sentry. They miss out. So the info game is much better for Galaxy Racer. What MTG needs next is to really eye mid. Just need to get that mid tower somehow with the dragon form. They need to avoid these big team fights. And GXR, for their part, they're farming very efficiently. Like, the build-up on Alacrity is looking good. The Witchblade isn't too far off now.
Yeah.
The Travels are almost up to Mizu as well.
Gets an Impale out, but Mizu was there with the follow-up Burrow Strike, and now the Light Strike Array does also land as Alacrity does rotate in, and that'll be the Nyx Assassin. Again going down. Bit of a kind of forced Impale there from Q, and he does end up paying for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things for Motivate.Trust. They're trying to maintain control in that jungle. Can't fully. They lose their ward now as well. They know they can't even play bot despite taking that tier 1 and
Masaros. Epicenter comes in. He does not get the surge off in time. He's going to try and run anyway. Do they have the damage? They got the caustic off. Is he going to tie to it? Nah, he'll be right. Bit of a shame there for Mizu. I thought with the Epicenter it would be enough. But then again, John, as I keep repeating every time we see a Sand King, Epicenter is a pretty bad ability. And if Ice Frog's listening,
yeah,
please buff this hero.
Yeah, it does such paltry damage at level 1. 6 pulses at 110. It just kind of tickles the enemy. It's not even a real earthquake anymore. Just like, what, nice shaky table or something. Jackie, though, forward.
Jackie gets caught out. Shaky table was the terms you used there. John, as wall is dropped. They almost found Jackie, but he's not dead quite yet. Scanner Blast not there in time. He will get away as Mizu does drop. They'll go for more now. Pollison, in a bit of danger, is slowly going to try and walk his way out, but there is no way out. He'll die to Fearless. That'll be a double kill for the Dragon Knight. Alacrity was just unable to help, and yeah, MTG putting a bit of a score on their own board now, but they are still 4K behind.
It's important kills for Motivate.Trust. They save Jackie out as well. It feels a bit disjointed from GXR right now. Mizu goes in, the rest of his team are still across in the middle ramp area, so they're not really able to run up at the right time, and just kind of falls flat. They need to be a bit more coordinated for those pickoffs. That's the second kill they kind of miss out on. They are still buying space out for In Your Dream, though, and this is where it gets a bit painful for the Spectre versus Sven matchup. The flash farm coming through for In Your Dream is bigger, but Motivate, they are smoked up around here.
Yeah. Gonna run in, nice. Spine Carapace out through the cleave. They will be able to catch the Sven, and they get the damage out. And that's the one thing for In Your Dream. Once they've got the Ice Blast, it's very hard for him to survive. Especially through all the damage they can pump out through the Nyx Assassin. You'll have to be very careful now as Motivate. They've kind of got the idea behind them. See if they can just keep up the same sort of kill onto In Your Dream over and over again.
That's the big target they need to go for. You don't care too much about Alacrity. You don't really care about the Sand King. It's a Sand King. But you need to stop that Sven. So it's a lot of pressure mainly on Q. He needs to keep hunting down, get the Spike Carapace on the cleave, and get the chain stunts off from there. Mid is being forced in, though.
Yeah, they've got Q. They'll get the Stormhammer out, and they'll get the kill. But Masaros is in with the wall, but it's only on one. Now onto the DK. Fearless has been caught with the Epicenter. They will be able to secure the kill. The GXR, they turn right back around on Motivate. Get a nice set of kills, and now it might be time to go into that mid-tier 1 tower and try to get some damage out.
Should be able to find it as well. They've got God Strength running for a little bit longer. They clear out even more of the map. 2 tier 1s gone for Motivate.Trust. That opens up the jungle to be invaded. Mizu even finds a couple of ancient stacks to take for himself. But this Blade Mail you just finished on Jackie, he can't leverage it on the ancients anymore.
Oh, Impale out. Ice Blast is there. They blow up Mizu. In Your Dream, about to fall and does. Joe Camp drops the boot. Alacrity has also been caught by the Spike Carapace as Q gives it to them again. That was a massive setup from Motivate.Trust, clearing out 4, and well, you were just saying he can't clear out the Ancients, but I suppose maybe now he can.
The stack still fell, so he can't clear that specific stack, but now they've got control back. GXR needs a lot more sentries this game. It's only that combination, Spike Carapace on the cleave, and that's all that's killing in your dream. So a ward would just fix that. He just needs to have information as to where he's farming. For Motivate.Trust's end, if they can keep punishing that lack of info, then they can keep building up. You are seeing Jackie actually being number 2 in net worth. Considering this slower start, your Spectre's still in a good spot to build into a mid-late game.
Burrow. Masaros has been caught. They can just blow up the Dark Seer, and that's exactly what they do. Definitely a nice Ice Blast and Cold Feet onto Mizu, almost taking him out, but it just proved to not quite be enough. GXR, again, understanding how powerful their draft is right now, can just keep going. It's, again, that double stun never really gets old between Mizu and Jokam, and they could just keep it up over and over again.
It's a tried and tested combo. Motivate.Trust will need some early BKBs to counteract that. We're seeing Fearless queue that up ASAP. Jackie, of course, is going for the Yasha as he tends to. Master is not quite. He is a Dark Seer, though. He doesn't really need to stand forward. He just needs to cast spells. So this BKB for Fearless is the big one that sets the pace. With the Blink up and running, you can look for more angles, more opportunities. There is still a 4K lead for GXR. They've taken control of the top jungle. They're clearing out every single camp. You only have this paltry triangle right now to play with in the bot jungle, which is less than ideal, but they have managed to get the D-wards off. GXR are currently a bit blind on the lower half of the map, and that's something that helps Motivate just kind of catch up. For GXR right now, we need to see them maybe start to line up for a push. The Blink is coming out for In Your Dream soon. Just hit those same spikes that we saw in Game 2. Go for tier 2s earlier, sub 20, and start to clear out some of that, get some aggressive wards in jungle. Defend the
Nice
tier 2.
blast. Jokam. Oh, nice Yule Scepter. Might be enough to keep him alive. It looks like it probably will be. Now, Burrow Strike is in. They're going to counter-initiate onto Fearless, and Fearless, he's been caught. He's gone. They did not get Jokam either. He did barely survive through all that. It's a very unfortunate set of events there for Motivate.Trust. You never really want to just casually lose that mid DK like that, but that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's not the safest spot for the DK right now. Again, they just got so much control coming through. The DK's not that tanky.
Uh-oh. Jokam, he seems to know something's up, and Q was underneath the sentry ward, so he was aware. Ice Blast is going to be off the mark, so Jokam is still alive. Q's going to go back in, but there is still a sentry on the high ground, which will make it very hard to walk in range of the laner. He is walking the right way now, but Jokam's going to be fine. Instead, he'll just take Polison's courier, take what he can get. Meanwhile, Polison himself, or rather Leonak, does end up dying to Alacrity. Jackie unable to help on the Spectre.
Just not one of those things you want to commit as a Spectre to. You don't know where the rest of the team are. You're kind of isolated. Your support can't really do much to help you do damage. So they're just going to have to commit more for the defense. But even then, GXR, they're just playing tag with the towers. They shove in, they pull back, they keep farming on the Sven. In Your Dream, BKB's almost done for him. So once the BKB's up, controlling the Sven, it's suddenly not going to be a big issue for GXR. He's not going to be kited. He doesn't have to worry about Spike Carapace or the Dragon Tail. MTG, going to have to look for a smoke play here. They do have Dragon Form ready. They just need to find a right target.
They certainly do. They trust. Oh, that's a big target. There's your Spike Carapace again into the Ice Blast, and In Your Dream immediately deleted off the face of the earth. As now Jokam has also been caught. He will use himself up, but it may not be enough as they continue to surround and get the kill. Meanwhile on the side though, Mizu with the Burrow Strike Epicenter might be able to kill Q, but what an impale out with the vacuum in the wall. They just completely blow them up. Oh, there goes Alacrity and Q. He will let them know about it once again. And that was a very nice play from both Masaros and Q-John. As the Impale was flying in, Masros, he quickly vacuumed as the Impale was coming in to make sure they all got stunned up. It was some really nice coordination out from Motivate.Trust.
Right, that is just buttery smooth right there coming through. And you have to remember, of course, DPS coming out from Fearless for the Red Dragon up. It does splash, although in your dream.
That stuns out. Vacuum is there. Mizu, though, with the Burrow Strike, will be out with the follow-up stun, and Fearless, with the kisses out, will not be able to survive, as they even spot out Masros there for a second. But it looks like with Fearless down, they're going to try and rush the Roshan pit. Motivate, they could buy it back on this DK, but now they're going to hold down. Ice Blast will make it a little bit more challenging, but in your dream, he's going to stand his ground and keep up the fight up against the Roshan. They don't have Haunt up, which does make it very challenging for Motivate to try and get the vision of the pit, and they're going to let it go the way of GXR. It's going to be a very nice bonus for them, considering what's been happening throughout this game number 3.
Yep, they get the second life to be safe on In Your Dream. He's got a safety net. He doesn't have to pop the God Strength to scare them off. He can save the BKB once it's up for a second life as well. Motivate.Trust are holding on really nicely, though. The lead for GXR is down to 2k. It's not massive.
He did pop the Spike Carapace. He didn't run into the LSA, though. He didn't want to risk it.
I'm kind of worried about GXR here. Like, they're still allowing the Spectre to farm up. The network gap between In Your Dream and Jackie's just within 1,000 gold. So it's actually not that big, and you consider how fast the Sven farms, you consider that cleave damage he has, you're just not as farmed as I think you'd expect to be. Ideally, I think you'd be at least 2k gold ahead. That's the ideal in this situation. It's enough to have mid-game item up that can throw the spec off. But Jackie's keeping pace. His Scotty's being farmed up. It's the same timings we see from Motivate.Trust. They smoke up again. Dragon Form's about to fade though, so it's not the ideal time to look for a kill. And of course, they'd be fighting into Aegis, which is always a risk. So I think the onus is on GXR to be aggressive with the Aegis. But they're kind of being passive, and that just means Motivate.Trust gets to farm a bit more.
Hughes having a look around. He'll run right into Polison. Impel slammed very nicely, and with the Ice Blast follow-up, Q will take a nice pick off. It'll be enough. Like you said, Jackie, he's still farming up, so he's more than happy with the way this game's going. In Your Dream is doing the exact same and is still ahead of the Spectre, but it does scare you still, the fact that you are against the Spectre. That ultra late game of the Spectre, even though the hero has been nerfed quite a bit, over time, it's still just so potent throughout the ultra late game, and so is the Sven, but you've got to be careful up against the Spectre hero. It's just way too strong.
It really is. It scales in a very different way that punishes our team. Whereas for a Sven, there are lots of ways to hold a Sven down. Sven's Halberd, you can just run away, maybe get a Ghost Scepter as well. The damage from flying through, very easy to counteract. Whereas Spectre, you're going to need a break, and that's going to have to come out from... In this case, it's really looking like it's going to have to come out from In Your Dream, but he's not really farming up for it as well. You don't have a natural sort of source of break. They will maybe find Q.
Well, they could, but he does back off. Instead, they found another. They'll get Leonak. Not the biggest kill in the world, but they get something. They've still got that Aegis to play with on In Your Dream, so I can imagine a smoke being popped, but it's right underneath an Observer Ward. This should amount to nothing. Jackie, you can see, immediately goes onto the other side of the map, starts farming the Radiant jungle because he knows they won't come there. Instead, GXR now very confused as to why nobody's farming the triangle. Probably not be able to find a kill.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. It's really eating into the Aegis time they have. They've only got about a minute and a half left on the Aegis. In Your Dream, he's looking pretty antsy. He wants to jump in. He's got the BKB. They want to make something happen, but Motivate.Trust are just very sneaky. They're forced to respond to the shoving up top. Mid's not quite being pushed out, and Motivate.Trust, knowing that the smoke's gone, it's their turn to try to get a pick off with their own smoke.
And why the hell not? They've got the Haunt up, they've got pretty much every ulti up, and they're going to run right into GXR, who were on division there for a second as Fearless does get the stun off on the big target. They've found In Your Dream and they blow him up immediately. That's your Aegis gone. Joe Cam being chased by a very angry dragon will die to the mana drain of Q. However, In Your Dream now is back to go after Q, and we'll be able to get the Nyx as they go on to the Darkseer now. Masseros in big trouble. In Your Dream, though, out of the BKB. The wall will drop. Is it in time? In Your Dream is still being chased down with the cold feed out. They will be able to kill him off. Alacrity, though, looks to turn back onto Leonak. Will get started. Meanwhile, Mizu towards the south does go onto Jackie, but they don't have the damage output.
Impossible.
I mean, Jackie now on a triple kill will go after Mizu. But they don't have the detection for the Sand King, and Alacrity is still around. In fact, Mizu is going to almost pops the epicenter. Does cancel it at the last second. Still a very kind of effective fight here for Motivate, as you saw it die back there onto the Snapfire. And of course, Jackie, of all people, getting the triple kill on the Spectre. Going to feel very good.
It's that time, you know, it's around the same time again, Mike. 25 minutes around about 24 and a half, where Motivate.Trust, they find their groove, they find the kills on In Your Dream, find a kill on Alacrity, and GXR just feels shaky. They just do not get what they want done with the Aegis at all. The BKB timing it was used on, MTG just managed to dance around it, and they lose that net worth lead. Scotty's up and running for Jackie. He's level 20 now, so he's got the 400 HP talent. It's getting pretty scary for GXR. Now, it's not as, you know, early game oriented as their game 1 draft, as In Your Dream is still a massive win condition. You've still got potential to scale with a puck as well, especially once you manage to farm up, say, an Ags op. But you have allowed Jackie to free farm. He's number 1 in net worth. He's bounced back from that slower start. And that's when we see Motivate.Trust really shine. Even Q, with all the activities he's had on the map, he's almost at the Ags timing for Nyx. Once he has that burrow on, we've seen so many teams struggle to deal with Nyx with the burrow on hand. And GXR, they've got to be ready for all of that control coming out here.
Yeah, I mean, the Aghanim Scepter Nyx Assassin is just so obnoxious. Looks like they will find out Leonak trying to get a D-ward off. Nice little pick up there for In Your Dream. He did pop the God Strength for that, but I suppose he can just use it to farm anyway, so not too big of a deal. However, Motivate, moving in, they spot out Q, they'll try to burst down the Nyx Assassin, and he might just go down and does, but a big back wall out. They've all been trapped inside of it. Alacrity might just fall. Mizu with the Ice Blast does go down. Alacrity still trying to run, will orb away, but Fearless is on the chase. Can he get the TP off in time? Fearless, he does not see him.
Oh.
Close call there. It was still a 3-for-1 trade for Motivate. And I'll tell you what, John, I was talking badly about the Darkseer earlier on in the draft, but Masseros has been looking very good with that back wall. He just continues to make it very hard for GXR to take a team fight.
Yeah.
It has indeed been very challenging.
It's not even the first few times it was down to Vac Wall with Impale, but now you're seeing the power of DK with Vac Wall. Like the splash damage coming through from his Red Dragon carrying over onto the Blue Dragon now, it's just so strong. It just does way too much damage when they're clumped up like that. And then you're seeing Fearless also rush this Ags onto DK. So the Black Dragon comes up, additional splash damage, additional poison damage, additional slows on hand, and patting on hand as well. This is just really scary. The synergy's just lining up too well. The damage output's ridiculous. It's only really In Your Dream who can kind of last long enough in the middle of those fights. But the pressure on In Your Dream right now is he has to know when to pop that BKB. Does he pop it when he jumps in? Or does he pop it when the Motivate.Trust have kind of blown a couple of spells and he dodges it? He's got to be extra cautious because that BKB window is his DPS window. It's his window to kill off the big cores, and the last time we saw him use it, it just didn't last long enough.
Oh, Jackie, mid lane, epicenter, gonna be popped. They go with the line strike array, but look how
Mizu,
tanky the Spectre is. They can't get him. They'll move in. Paulison, he's dead. Mizu is gonna have to BKB TP away, and now that big not Black Dragon yet, it's a Blue Dragon, but he's very big indeed. There's a rush forward onto Jokam. The Yule Scepter out. Meanwhile, on the backside, Leonak in your dreams getting to work. It's both supports. But he's going to run out of that BKB soon, and In Your Dream needs to run. The haste rune will save the day. Jackie is pretty fast himself. In fact, they go for a bit of a man fight. Moving back in, stun out. Jackie going to turn, but there's your Burrow Strike with the Sandstorm. Just doing so much damage. Jackie surely doesn't survive through it, but they did get In Your Dream. Still Motivate.Trust, losing 4. Only have Masteros left, and they will lose the 5th. GXR now. It was kind of a close call there for the side of Motivate. It looked like it could have gone either way, but GXR do come out on top.
Yeah, and they're playing this really tight, but they are always killing off Q. So even with this Ags up, Q's just caught front forward, and he just doesn't have the follow-up control. It could be a lot easier if your Nyx could help you hold some heroes down. He needs to really watch his positioning to set up for his team here. With playing 4 versus 5, you know, you have seen Motivate.Trust grab a couple, but you really want your full roster there to control.
Q, he knows you're there, so he just dewarded. He's gonna go for the Burrow. Q's in trouble. I think Q may have had a bit of brain lag there for a second as, well, they might still find a target. They do get Paulison. But he did kind of just watch Paulison dewarding and didn't realize that he could be seen. So Alacrity now will go for more, and that'll be Leonak gone. Alacrity on a mega kill streak now. And once again, Motivate. They've got to be quite cautious not to give these kills away, right? Like you're still not going to guaranteed win the game just because of your draft. You've got to try and beat out GXR in these team fights, and giving those little openings away does give time for In Your Dream to get that higher farm up and maybe give the team a better chance of being able to pull off this Game 3 victory.
He's really close to finishing up his AC, then into that, Daedalus comes out. He's got a double damage rune bottled up. It is also time for Roche, as Roche has respawned. So Motivate.Trust has to be very careful around that objective. In that tight spot, it could go either way. It's either you're clumped up, the Epicenter Burrow Strike, and the Stormhammer LSA Dreamcoil rips right through you with the Kisses flying outside, or we see the big back wall again, along with the Dragon Form ripped right through GXR. That's the next thing to watch out for, but I think both sides will look for a pick-off outside before committing to that Roche first.
There's your Aghanim Scepter up on Fearless now, John. The Black Dragon is upon us. TG, they might want to smoke up with this, and they will. Tier 5, or rather Tier 3 items being found out by Jackie while all this is happening. Spot out the Roche, but can they get it started? It seems rather challenging to Roche with this kind of draft. Especially with your Spectre not around. They're definitely going to need the full squad. GXR, they go for a bit of a smoke of their own now. That mid lane. Motivate, they are being quite patient, sticking around, waiting for somebody to show on the map, and Alacrity will do that. He's going to back out. I believe GXR should be well and truly aware that the Roshan is also up, and they do have a DD rune on In Your Dream, so they'd love to get it started if they found an opening. Even just the team fight right now for GXR would feel quite nice with that DD rune. But they haven't found that opening yet.
They're just so cautious on both sides. They know the team fight control is pretty much on a coin flip. If one side gets a good opening, then they can just end up taking the fight. Motivate.Trust are the ones to get impatient first, though. They're in the pit. They have to watch the initiation coming out from Mizu and Alacrity if they want to go in here.
You've even got the Eye of Skadi now up on Alacrity, so a lot of HP regen being reduced there, but Fearless, he jumps in straight away. Burrow Strike not out yet. Mizu, he goes into the Burrow instead, and the Epi, no, he will die. He's gone already. In your dream, he'll get started right onto Jack with that BKB, but it's not going to be enough because you've got Q there with the Burrow just being a real pain in the butt as they even found another. Alacrity drops. Masros found the other two on the backside. There's the epicenter, but it's way too late. It just does no damage to the side of Motivate as they just keep moving forward. They will kill off Polison, and now they go for another. They go after Mizu on that Sand King. They clean them all up onto the